The following program was provided by an independent producer solely responsible for its content. The opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.
Hello again. This is Ralph Boehm for our legislative update. This is going to be a long show today, and with me again is
Erica Layon, representative from Derry.
Okay, now we have 3 sessions that we want to cover, and maybe a fourth if we have time. The one coming up 2 days this week, and maybe then next following week, because it's getting to the end of the season. We have to have our bills done sometime in April, and then we start working. Well, we've finished all our bills on election law. How are you doing?
We finished all the health and human services bills.
Good. So,
we're just waiting on the budget bills and a few of the other ones who went to a second committee.
And bills coming from the Senate. Okay. And we, for the most part, have killed most of ours. Anyway.
We had a huge number that we all agreed on, so they went on the consent calendar. Whether we're passing them through or we all agreed that it needed to be improved enough.
Yeah, in election law, either our bills were 20-0, and the committees are evenly divided, 10 Republicans, 10 Democrats. So most of our bills were either 20-0 to kill or 20-0 to pass, or 10-10, no recommendation. So either, so most of them, I think most of them were pretty much on consent. Okay, so let's start with criminal justice, HB 33. That repealed the prohibition of blackjack, slungshots, because recent Supreme Court ruling put these weapons under the Second Amendment. But anyway, a slungshot, not a slingshot. If you watch the old Bible movies with David and Goliath, he was using a slungshot. And those, and you see, they killed Goliath.
Like the sling in Clan of the Cave Bear.
Right. Sort of thing. That one too.
Yes.
It's 2 straps, and then you let go of one, and the shot goes.
Definitely modern weapons. I'm worried about those on the streets.
But those could be more dangerous than a 25 or a 22. Anyway. Okay, possession or discharge of a firearm in the school zone. This was to prevent, even if you go to pick up your kid and you're doing the concealed carry, you can't go in and get your kid with the gun that nobody knows you have anyway. But anyway, that was killed 199.
And so today to do that legally, you need to have a pistol and revolver permit, which means that you went to your local police and you got that little thing that says to concealed carry. We also have constitutional carry, so pretty much everywhere except schools. If you're not a prohibited person, you can carry without that piece of paper. Right. But you need that piece of paper to go into the schools lawfully.
Oh, really?
Yes, you do.
I had that paper, but it expired, didn't it? We don't have it anymore.
It's one of those things because federal law says that as long as you're permitted in the state, you can have that.
Right, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sorry, minutia. That's what I do. I'm a nerd.
Yeah. My thing on this whole thing about gun-free zones, that's fine for legal people that aren't going to break the law. And that's like, I like this meme that I've seen before with a fenced-off sheep place and the big sign saying no wolves. I mean, hello? Bad people don't care. They read and they go there because nobody else has a gun. So anyway, but so you can go pick, hopefully this will pass through the Senate, the governor will probably sign it, and then you can go pick up your kids on school property. Okay, this HB 106, this was a red flag law. In other words, you can, a family member or somebody said, he threatened me or she threatened me, and they can come take your gun. No. Red flag laws are a big if. Also, the big thing they bring up is some person might want to commit suicide. Well, my thing is, I don't know what yours is, I believe people have the right to die. So in other words, if somebody tells me I have 6 months to live and I'm going to be in pain all 6 months and there's nothing I can do about it, I'd seriously think of suicide. So it's not just mentally ill people that want to commit suicide. So, yeah.
Well,
But
And it's one of those things too. There are a lot of vulnerable people who it's just in that moment. But stopping somebody, the idea that you're going to take everybody's rights just because you want to have an opportunity to save somebody who's already on the edge. And the thing with the waiting periods too, they had an exemption for women. So if a woman expressed fear at the police department, she wasn't subject to the 3-day. What if the person actually is affiliated with the police department? But what if you're not a woman and you're in fear?
Right.
Men can be in fear too.
Right.
So it's just, I found it crazy.
Right. And the red flag law, in most cases, when it's gone to court, it is against the Fourth Amendment. You know?
And there are some exemptions that we have where if there's an immediate significant threat. Oh, I guess that was a separate one about the no-knock warrants.
Oh, okay.
That if somebody's literally holding somebody hostage and there's an imminent threat to life,
Yeah.
you can go in, but you can't just go searching with no-knock warrants. Those
Right.
end up costing too many lives.
Yeah, that was the big issue last week with the bill on, I can't think of the one on forcing Fish and Game to get warrants before they ask you how many fish have you caught. Now, that's no different. They take, because the police have to get warrants. No, they don't. For example, if they see somebody carrying a body and putting it in the trunk, they don't need a warrant. So same as Fish and Game. If you ever watch Northwood's Law, you can watch them. They're watching this guy. He looks like he's caught more than the legal limit. Then they've seen it, so they can get checked. So.
And that's one of the things too. We had a workplace, a hospital workplace protection bill where they wanted to extend warrantless arrest to the hospitals. But if somebody's causing an immediate threat and the police officer sees it, they don't need a warrant because they're a witness.
Right, yeah.
So there's
the
common
same
sense protections.
Yeah.
Sorry, the no knocks I was talking about will be next week, House Bill 135. Sorry to get ahead of us.
Okay, that's good. We'll get that. Also, like I mentioned, the 3-day waiting period, that was also killed. Okay, red flag, well, anyway. Also, Bill, this past couple days was, they wanted to legalize LSD. Now, I remember back when I was in the Air Force, and I was working part-time, the last couple of years I was working part-time at the local 400-bed, 7th floor hospital as a security guard. Part-time, 40 hours a week. But anyway, and a lot of times in the emergency room. And remember, late 60s, that was all the drugs. I think drugs are bad now. LSD and anything else that somebody can come up with. And I remember people coming in with LSD, and we'd bring them up to the 7th floor, which was the mentally ill ward, and it was under lock. And then sometimes the same people would be coming back every couple of weeks because they were having flashbacks. And sometimes some people, I remember a couple of people coming in the front door and saying, I'm gonna go check in to the mentally, because he was starting to get flashbacks. So it's not a good thing. It doesn't last, only lasts a few hours. Yeah, if you're driving and all of a sudden you're having a flashback, it's not good.
Well, that's also one of the things too. Just because something's not a good idea, that doesn't mean that it should necessarily be illegal too.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't just LSD; it was also mescaline, psilocybin, and peyote. And there are some medical and there are some religious uses to those too. So just because somebody wants,
mushrooms.
So mushrooms are actually for PTSD. There's a clinic down at Mass General that's working on it.
Well,
we need to figure out how to get one of these up here.
I know the religious one for the frogs.
Yes. Yes.
Anyway.
But just because we shouldn't use the law to tell us what's a good idea or bad.
Right. And then you pronounce that one?
DMT. I have no idea. Dimethyltryptamine, I think.
Something like that. That was the previous week. That was also killed, 274 to 97. Okay. Then HB 444, prohibiting possession of a firearm at a polling place. Again, I mean, right now too, if the polling place is in the school, you can carry a gun. But that was killed also, 202 to 167. So those bills weren't even close like some of the other bills. So there are a lot of Democrats that are also for the Second Amendment.
Which is really good, because that's one of the things that protects everybody.
Yeah.
I know anybody can be a vulnerable person, and by having a tool that makes you less vulnerable to people who mean bad, that's a really good thing to have. So that's one of the reasons there's things like the Women's Defense League to help train up women.
Oh, yeah, right.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
There's lots of great opportunities for people to become proficient and trained if they want those opportunities.
Yeah, that's the thing. The women get training, we don't.
There's plenty of training for guys.
I know.
Some women feel intimidated learning with guys,
Oh,
so that's why it's
I
good
know,
to have the
that's why,
separate
yeah.
ones.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then judiciary, again, some bills on protecting tenants. In other words, against landlords, which means nobody will rent. Anyway, termination of tenancy after expiration of the lease. So if the lease is over, goodbye. You know, unless you sign a new lease. But the thing is, people wanted, well, if I have to leave, I can't find anybody else, so I'm just going to stay. No.
Yeah.
Come on.
The way it's been interpreted is the lease is forever for the person who's renting,
Right.
but the person who's renting the room or the house, it's forever for them because nothing ends it.
Right.
But for the person who owns the property, who's providing that housing, for them, they can, it only says that for a certain amount of time. Sorry,
Yeah,
it's the
I-
other way around. You can be forced to rent to somebody forever if you own the property.
Right.
But if you're renting from them, you can leave after a year or whenever it's up or anytime afterwards.
Yeah,
And that's just not fair.
Yeah, it's not fair. That's why, I remember when I lived in Massachusetts for years, no way I'd ever own rental property because the law in Massachusetts said the renter is God, and that's not right.
That's a lot of the reason why rents are so high. It's risky to be a housing provider in some areas.
And there was other laws in judiciary on that too, we won't cover, but on a lot of landlord-renter situations. Also, one bill, HB 469, it would require landlords to accept Section 8 housing. Now, Section 8 housing is pretty much rent subsidized by the government. And we have some in Litchfield across from can't think of the high school. There's a road there, they got Section 8 housing. The problem with Section 8 housing is forcing landlords to do it, which means it's another rent control attempt, really. And that was killed 206 to 165.
Yeah, basically, if a landlord has only a couple units and they have some that are Section 8, they have to charge more on the other unit so that they can keep owning the property and providing it.
It hurts the town too because the town can't charge the property taxes on the value of the house. I remember I was on when I was on the selectmen, that came up in the law was, no, you've got to only charge based the rent. Your taxes were based on the income, not based on the value of the house. So, for Section 8 housing, So, also on education, House Bill 367, that raised the EFA to 350% of the minimum of the
Federal poverty level.
poverty level. But they wanted to raise it to 500, but it wouldn't pass. It might pass, but the governor didn't want that. He said he would have vetoed it. So it moved it up a little bit from 300 to 350. The argument, I was just accidentally sat in on when they had the hearing on that. Mm-hmm. And the argument with people saying, well, what if it was, because they wanted nothing, anybody can do it. And the argument was that, well, what if a millionaire? And my answer to that would have been, for people under the IDEA, handicap law and whatnot, you can be a billionaire and the state and federal government still pay for the child going for special needs. Hey, wait a minute. If you can do it for one, why not the other?
And the state pays for millionaires or billionaires' kids to go to public school too. It's that same money going from the state.
Right.
It's a matter of, does it follow the child just to the public school or does it follow them elsewhere? with the
But,
same requirements.
well, you know, this one, HB 446 expands eligibility.
So this is one of the areas where there's a lot of resistance to opening this up to everybody, but there are some students that really, really, really need more access to school choice. There's actually a school district that I'm aware of that they're having a lot of trouble getting some students out of the English language learning process. So you're having kids that are now getting discriminated against and treated differently by their peers because they're being treated as if they can't speak English even though they're fluent. And it's getting to the point where they're getting bullied and there's other issues where they need to find another solution. But if the family makes more than 300% or 350% of the federal poverty level, then they have to pay they have to pay the full cost to go to a private school or to buy materials to coordinate education at home. And it wasn't just English language learners, because you might have some that are fantastic in all of their academics and the native language and they need to work on their English, or other ways around. But foster kids, if you're a kid who goes into the foster system and you've already been in a private school, don't you want to have that stability for that kid to be able to stay in that private school? So they may have lost their family, but they still have their school. And homeless students, you may have had a lot of money and you don't qualify, but you don't want to lose your home and your school at the same time. And probably the biggest one is the persistently bullied students, because we were talking about suicide before, and bullying is a huge, huge risk factor for suicide. We've unfortunately seen it in the state. And if we can give these kids an out and a way to pursue an education away from the people who are bullying them, I think we owe it to them. So this is a bill that I had put forward. It's actually one that was in the budget, but the governor was looking to cap that at 500% of income. I think it's too important for these marginalized groups. They need to have it without any limit.
Yeah. Also, if you're in the military and you're on active duty, your child, which you probably wouldn't make the 350 unless you were a big officer. But the thing is, for active duty armed forces, children can also apply. So that opens it up.
Special education students, because some people would rather coordinate care of themselves at home. There's a lot of different subcategories in there, but I think they're all really worthy of being able to choose their own education path.
Right.
Well, everybody is, but some people need it even more.
Right. And then HB 170, that was just passed yesterday, 199 to 174, requiring teaching of cursive and multiplication tables. Now the current DOE thing is says it's what's the word? It's you should do it. There's no. This is saying you must. Cursive writing. I mean, I remember some years ago when you took the SAT tests, you had to write out that you knowingly and you're gonna take the test, and you had to write it, and all the kids couldn't. And a lot of argument on this was, well, you don't need it because you're typing everything. But what if your computer breaks? Or what if all of a sudden the network goes down and whatnot? You're dead. And multiplication tables. Oh, we got calculators. What if you calculate it? Hey, I do a lot of my calculations up here because I know all this stuff. I mean, I don't even think they teach addition and subtractive, not tables, but easy ways of doing stuff. And the same with multiplication. We all had to learn it when I went to school.
Yeah, with the scores we're seeing, I do question what it is they're teaching, but multiplication's so key. You're at the grocery store and trying to figure out which eggs are the cheapest. You need to have those multiplication tables right there on your mind.
Yeah, and somebody always says, when's the last time you used algebra? Well, when you go to the store and says 3, 4, something, what's each one? That's algebra.
Yeah, 3x equals $4. Solve for x.
That's $1.33. But anyway.
You know your multiplication tables.
Okay, HB 514.
House Bill 514 was the dissemination of obscene materials by schools. There was a lot of concern about the bill, how it first came out, because there was an opportunity to sue teachers if they were giving some of these pornographic books to students. We actually changed it on the floor, and the way that we changed it, it says that it basically gives a complaint process. So if a parent sees material that they don't think is appropriate, there's a way to pursue, there'll be a standardized way to pursue those concerns with the school board, and to make sure that if they decide that books teaching how to perform fellatio are not appropriate for fifth graders,
Right.
then they would have a procedure to make sure that those books are not available. And sadly, those have been found for fifth graders in this country. I believe
Right.
in the state too, but
Yeah.
it's one of those where we're trying to solve these problems and not come down with a heavy hand, but also make sure that there's not pornography or things that give links to adult hookup sites, which some of these books do. You know, this isn't just your dad's Playboy that you're sticking underneath your bed frame. It's some of this stuff is pretty serious, and they've actually had to cut away from people reading through it on TV. So having a process to bring these concerns forward, I think, will stop this from being an argument about whether or not it exists. And then when it's found, it can come forward, it can be dealt with, and then it stops being an argument and it starts being a solution to make sure that our kids are protected.
Yeah, I remember when I was on the school board, the parent came in with, look at what this kid's reading. It was in a textbook of short stories, and it was called The Cocaine Diet. And the story, the only way you could have made it into a movie would have been X-rated. You know, and yet, even though high school kids, they were still reading it. We banned that book, and we got into, oh, you're burning books. No, and the argument, who read this book? Hardly anybody, you know. And also, one of the reps from, I think, Brookline, tried to read the story on the House floor. He couldn't. And I look at, and the thing of the diet is how you can use cocaine to lose weight.
Oh, jeez.
So these girls were doing it, but that wasn't the gist of it. The gist of it, how these girls were making money to buy the cocaine. Oh. You know, I mean, come on. And that was for, you know.
There's some books that just don't belong in schools.
No, so the whole thing is we're making a big deal of we're book burning and all that. No, we were just, and half the people we had asked, have you read it? No. And if you can't read it on the House floor, or if you can't read it on television, and that's what happened with Ron DeSantis in Florida. He was going to read one of the books, and they quickly cut to.
He read through. I think they had to cut away for 5 minutes.
Yeah. So I mean, hey. So anyway. Okay.
And so, let's see.
HB 58.
Oh, no. This one here, House Bill 92.
Yes, that was a good one.
Yes.
Yep.
So with this one, it was a bill to make New Hampshire follow California's air quality standards.
And the states around us.
Yes. So that would mean that we would follow California's policy that right now has them doing away with gas-free cars by 2035.
And all gas engines, which include motorcycles.
And if that, I actually am not sure if it extended to the entire thing or if it was just the vehicles. But you're not going to be able to buy a gas-powered chainsaw in California in 2024. Right. I know electric chainsaw technology's improved, but can you imagine? You're out of power in a storm, trees have come down, you can't charge your chainsaw, and so then they can't get your power back on. You know, some things just don't make sense. No. And deferring to California to set our rules and following whatever they change in the future just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, and my thing is, it's sort of like putting the cart before the horse. Okay, so everything's gonna be electric cars and everything. But where's the electricity coming from? You know, and that should have been the first thing to decide. How are we going to make the electricity? And windmills, wind farms, solar, it'll work for your house, but it's not going to work for the grid. Mm-hmm. Because how many acres and acres you're going to need. It works fine in the desert. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So there was another bill, House Bill 605, that they had for us to increase the amount of solar we were going to have. One of the people on the committee did the math. If you took every rooftop of a house, every rooftop of a factory, you'd still need another 15,000 acres of solar panels in New Hampshire. Pawtuckaway State Park is 5,000 acres. So you'd need to clear cut 3 times all of Pawtuckaway State Park, including the lake. Clear cut it, get rid of all of those carbon sequestering trees, and then replace that with solar panels. Yeah. You know, it might make sense on a small scale, but the technology is not there to replace it.
Yeah, and then I met and seen the picture of a wind farm, wind turbine in cold weather. Those things actually, there's a lot of oil in those things and whatnot. And they actually showed a helicopter spraying the turbines to defrost them.
Mm-hmm.
I mean...
And I believe it was a petroleum-based product that they were spraying to de-ice it.
Right. So, I mean, before we mandate electric energy, electric vehicles or electric everything, let's figure out how we're going to make the electricity and not use coal, which is the big thing. I mean, some of the stuff, it's like there's no common sense. So, and anyway, luckily, that actually failed. 40 to 331. So that was amazing.
I circulated a meme before we voted. It said, "Don't California flag my New Hampshire flag." I'd like to think that stopped a few people from voting for that bill.
But I mean, so...
But a lot of the Democrat leadership voted for that bill in order to just blindly follow California. And
Right.
that was a little scary to see.
And everybody says, well, this would make us just like California. I'm going, huh? Why does anybody want us to be just like California?
I left California for a reason.
I know, right?
It's beautiful, but
Yeah,
when you
but
see
not
what
the-
happens with their policies, it just doesn't make it good
Yeah.
to continue on.
Then we have HB 58, prohibiting the payment of sub-minimum wage. In other words, people that work for tips that make a whole lot more than minimum wage. So they wanted to make all the people get paid minimum wage, which means the restaurant or everything will have to increase the prices. The business goes down. So and the people, a lot of people that work for tips, no, we want to work for tips. I mean, and then what will happen is, and you're paying minimum wage, we're going to deduct your tips to make up for that. And a lot of places, like the bigger restaurants, the people don't want. They want to stay working for tips, and also and places that need that right now need more people. Actually, will pay really more than minimum wage to get the workers to come in to work for the tips. So I mean, and that would just put with people. There would be a lot of jobs lost, and we don't have enough people now. And that failed 191 to 168.
You know, that's one of the things too. Restaurants are such a low margin business because food costs are going up for us and they're going up for the restaurants too.
Yeah.
And it's just, there's a lot of waste when people don't show up to eat. And like I tell my kids and I tell everybody else, if you can't afford the tip, you can't afford to eat out. And I think most people do follow through with that. But if you end up tripling what somebody's getting in their minimum wage, you're going to have to raise the prices on food.
Right.
Now, we've already seen that happen, and we're seeing fewer people at restaurants. And you know that it might feel good in the moment to pass something like that, but it's just going to make everything more expensive for people, and it's going to make people lose their jobs and lose their businesses.
And you look at a lot of places where you order, and then you get a thing, and that tells you when and you go pick it up. I mean, and that's going to happen in a lot of places. I mean, yeah.
Well, and you have so many family restaurants too that are family run, and then they can expand to become a little bit larger. But that hurdle to go from just your family working to hiring more people and trying to expand to a larger platform just won't work if it costs that much more to have new employees.
Yeah, so that
Yes.
failed, luckily.
Yes.
Every now and then that comes up because it. Anyway, but nobody working on tips wants it. I mean, next one, HB 222, another try at mandating seatbelts. I don't remember what the vote was on that.
So
It failed.
I may have
I
written
got
that
it.
one
I
down.
got it here.
It was 206 voted for it not to pass, and 162 people wanted to require adults to wear seatbelts.
Right.
So this is another one of those areas where just because it's a good idea, you don't need the law to tell you whether something's a good idea or a bad idea.
Right.
You know, nobody can really break the law of physics, and that's what seatbelts are all about.
Right. I mean, that was the same, was it last year? I think it was a bill on mandating motorcycle helmets. And that failed also. And they came up with, we filled the House on that with something like more than 300 people pretty much. I would say 95% of us against the helmet. I drive a motorcycle. I also wear a helmet, except when I'm like in the parade or something and you're going real slow, and then don't wear a helmet. But, yeah, hey, it's common sense. You know, if I want to bash my head in, I won't. But, you know, but then I did some statistics, and actually a doctor got up and spoke saying that of the head injuries from motorcycles and whatnot, and I did some research on it, and head injuries from vehicles, which included motorcycles, but they didn't have a breakdown, with all the different head injuries that caused major injuries or death, was 15% came from vehicles. More probably came from falling down stairs and falling off ladders and that. But we don't hear, hey, you got to wear a helmet from climbing stairs.
Mandatory one-floor houses.
Right. Yeah. Right. Yeah. I mean, you know, I mean, it's well, you got to make the shelves slide. I mean, the doors of your shelves will slide rather than open, so you don't bang your head. I mean, come on, it's getting ridiculous. Okay. We've got a couple of bills coming up. Are they in next week's?
No. Oh, yes. The Parental Bill of Rights will be the first one that we hear when we start
Actually,
Wednesday at 9 a.m.
Oh, beautiful.
Oh, yes.
The Senate, the Senate's got a bill too, and they actually did the hearings on both at the same time.
Yes.
And which was cool, because the little difference in the two.
And that same day, we also held the hearings on the two bills related to transgender in the Health and Human Services Committee too. So it was sort of one-stop shopping for people in that area, because I think incorrectly people have decided to say the Parents' Bill of Rights is against non-gender typical kids. The whole point is making sure that if a student's known in their community at school as one persona, their parent isn't going to be surprised when they run into somebody at the grocery store, and there aren't going to be things done without the parent's knowledge. You know, it's one of those areas too. People talk about bad parents, but you're going to take away a lot of good parents' opportunity to show their child just how much they love them, and they love them no matter who they are. It's really pitting kids against parents right now, when parents are a lot more accepting of their children than some of the people spreading fear really want people to think.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. The problem is, it's who does the child belong to? Belongs to you, not the school. I mean, it's not the school's job. And the problem is, remember, it used to be the school had to get permission from the parent to even give them an aspirin or a cough syrup or anything. But now they can get your kids, get them to go to a doctor or go see a therapist or go see without the parent knowing it.
Or vaccinate them against the parent's will,
Right.
which has happened twice in this state.
Yeah, and which was against the law too. But I mean, come on now. So who's responsible? The parents. So if it's one of these procedures that they send the kid to without knowing, the parents even knowing about it, who's going to be responsible for the bill? The parents. The child's a minor. You can't make the decisions. The school should not be allowed to make decisions for the child. So, I mean, it's...
And there's a really big push to move more healthcare into the schools, both
Right.
physical healthcare for physical health and mental health. And right now, there's only some of that counseling and health that's happening in the schools. But when we do more and more and more of it, we need to have a policy that makes sure that the parents are not just equal partners, but are recognized as the authority in their children's life. They're the ones who raise them. They're the ones who care most for them. There are some bad parents, but we have a policy for that.
Right.
And
That's the thing. That's what people don't want to. The teacher, the parent, kid, the student might say to the teacher, well, if I told my parents this, they might beat me. There's a way around that. There's the laws covering that. I mean, the teacher can report that, and then that's covered.
if there's threats of abuse, there's a lot bigger issues than
Right.
whatever it is that the school's trying to
Right.
cover up with the kid.
And how many kids tell, hey, if I tell my parents I'll get beat, whether or not they do or not. I mean, we've all been kids, right? We all lied about things, you know. Kids, I always say that 5-year-olds are all lawyers, you know, because, no, you didn't say that, you said this. You know?
Following you to the letter of the law.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, all 5-year-olds follow the letter of the law, like a good one. Go to your room. So the kid's now outside. Well, you didn't say I had to stay there. You know what I mean? You know, those kind of things.
Yes.
Or
Yes.
you better do this. No, you didn't say I had to. You said I better. I mean, you know, and that's, and kids, that's what I say, kids are all kids are lawyers.
Well, and there's another issue too. When you're teaching kids that it's okay to have secrets with other adults, that's actually pretty terrifying because a lot of predators do tell kids to keep secrets from their parents.
Right.
That's one of the things that I've taught my kids, that if somebody says something's a secret, that means that you need to tell it to us. Because if it's a friend's secret, or if it's something where it needs to keep big, kept private, we will. But that's how people try and take advantage of kids and try and really get control over them. And if we tell all of these students the only person they can trust is some other adult that they tell secrets to, that's going to put them at huge risk, not just in the schools, but from other people in the community.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It used to always be, if you can't tell your parent, tell your teacher. You can't do that anymore. I mean, you don't know what that teacher is. Or tell your minister. And we know that doesn't work either. So, you know, but here we're having, so the law, you know, saying that was happening is, oh, I got this secret, so I'm going to tell my teacher. I mean, the teacher might be somebody you don't want to know about. I mean, a lot of that's called grooming. You know, and even though teachers and a lot are taking background checks and all that for different things, depending how many times we hear of a teacher, yeah, they passed the background check 10 years ago, you know, but now they're not. They wouldn't pass it. So, I mean...
And that sort of thing is really rare, but just because it's rare doesn't mean that we don't need to protect our students from that. That actually, there had been a pattern of serial sexual abuse from one of the teachers at a school where my mom taught. And while it's very rare and it should stay rare, it exists.
Yeah.
So this idea of I trust my teacher more than my parent, and to tell every student that's just a really, really dangerous path. So.
Yeah, even when I went, it was interesting, when I was in high school in Miami, I remember the dean of boys, which I took care of the attendance records in that school, so I got perfect attendance. But anyway, but the thing was, it was, he would tell me, watch out for that teacher, and watch out for that teacher, because, you know, so, I mean, all the other, and they give the other kids warning, don't, you know. So anyway, so there's the Senate bill and the House bill, and so we'll see which one works and which one doesn't, and probably maybe...
Well, and it's all recognizing not every teacher's perfect, but neither is every parent. And just trying to make sure we have a ground in between there. Right. So we'll see on Wednesday what happens in the House with our Parents' Rights Bill, and then we'll see what comes over with the Senate.
Yeah, that was 1010 coming out of the committee, of course. Yeah, and I like the coming out, and it's the problem with, we've seen in education and pretty much all the committee, it's your kid, on the Democrat side, your kid belongs to the school.
Kid belongs to the state.
Belongs to the state, right. No, they belong to the parents. You know, and that's the big problem, and that's a big issue, because a lot of times it's, luckily this bill Mom may only have to vote once on, because it's ought to pass is the first motion. So some of these bills, it takes 2 or 3 votes. That's why the sessions are lasting so long, because say this was ITL, so we vote no on that, then we got to vote again yes on ought to pass. It's not, if you kill it, it doesn't pass it, you got to vote again. And then meanwhile, somebody might stick in a tabling motion, which you have to vote not to table it. And I always thought tabling meant they should change it to not put it on the table, put it under the rug, because 9 times out of 10 you never see it again. You know, because at the end of the session, they're gone.
Unless they come off the table when we lose the
Which
numbers.
happened a few weeks ago.
A few weeks ago, there had been a few bills that were off by just a couple votes. So when the Republicans were in the minority, the Democrats pulled a couple of those bills off of the table and then passed those
And
through.
then just hope it. I think one of them is coming back from finance. We'll see what happens.
Yeah. Both of those bills are coming back from finance.
Yeah, so
the House will have a chance to hear those again.
Or then the Senate and a couple of them the governor would veto anyway.
Exactly. One would send kids with the EFA program back to public school for a year.
Oh yeah.
And what if it's these bullied kids? It's, I understand there's some people who just don't trust people outside of the system, but you might be putting a vulnerable kid back into an environment that really was not the right thing for them.
Right. I mean, yeah, because the big argument, the problem is with a lot of the Democrats is, like we said, the state. The student belongs to the state. Not just parents, not the family. So, I mean, that's utterly ridiculous. I don't know where they're getting that from. Oh, communism. But anyway.
Well, and that is kind of wild too, because there's certain bills that are supported by the other side where they say, well, theoretically, this might save one kid, so it's worth doing. It's not theoretical that some of these kids will be harmed by having to go back to their bullies. It's facts. It's the truth.
Right.
So
yeah, that's the problem is you can't. I can't think of the thing, but I remember last year with a bill on that. And it's like, I can't think what the bill was.
Was it the car seats?
Oh, one of the ones at the last day of the session. It was a bill that failed mainly because of people that didn't leave. I can't think of the bill. But anyway, the whole argument by some of the Republicans was that, well, we're going to save that one. No, what about the other 9,000, So, I mean, you can't make it bad for 90% of the people because you want to protect, so. Anyway, so.
Yeah, it's balancing harms, and that's always a challenging thing to do. So it's it's one of those things. Sometimes you can do something that protects the extreme minority of a couple individuals, but you need to make sure it's not hurting other people in the same time.
Yeah, you want to put up the screen? Yeah, here's the Children and Family Law Bill. I mean, you can go online, and like I've showed you in the past, to go to the calendar and look at, and you can read what the bill is. And they got the statement and ought to pass, and then the statement in support.
So we have a couple interesting bills that'll be coming up in my committee. If you want to go to page 31 on there, you'll find one of these. We have a bill.
A lot of bills next week.
We have a lot of bills next week. I think it's 76 on the regular calendar. In Health and Human Services, we sent 9 to the regular calendar, and we had 11 on consent. And out of our 9, there were 2 that were completely deadlocked, and the other ones were just off by 1 or 2 people that split from being deadlocked. We have House Bill 69, which is for direct payment and membership-based healthcare facilities. Right now, all of our hospitals are owned by large hospital groups, whether they're local nonprofit type hospitals, or we have 3 that are owned by a for-profit hospital system. This would allow for other hospitals to open up, like the Oklahoma Surgery Center, and they wouldn't be taking money from Medicare or Medicaid. That's not about discriminating against people with that care. It's about not having to follow these mandates that are coming from Medicare and Medicaid. When we had the expansion of Medicaid, we actually have fewer hospital beds, just because it's so expensive to have those beds nationwide. Nationwide, that's a trend. And by being able to open up some of these hospital beds and allow people who want to go in know how much they're paying before they're going to the hospital and make a choice to do that, they're able to be the ones negotiating for their care instead of some third-party group. Because right now, as soon as you go into a hospital, the insurance companies or Medicare or Medicaid's trying to say, okay, when's the fastest we can kick you out? Where can we get you somewhere else? Because we don't want to pay.
Right. Yeah, and the thing is, and that's coming up something similar to that all the time. And my thing on it, I remember years and years ago, this is coming up. And I think that, because you look at my bill when I get the bill from the hospital for something, like from last year. But anyway, this is what the cost was, right? this is what the insurance paid, right? Maybe 1/3 of that. And this is what you owe, 0. So if I didn't have insurance, they would have tried to bill me for that big amount. But I think the only thing they should bill you for is maybe the highest that an insurance company paid. I mean, so, hey, why can't I make a deal? A lot of places do it for CAT scans and those kind of things where...
Well, they can make a deal, but if they make it too low, let's say they let you pay $50 because you want to pay and that's all you can for your procedure, Medicare could come around and pay 6% less than that for every single person who did that.
I know.
They don't always do it, but they have the right to. So it always makes it so that people, the lowest you can charge is either 0 or just over Medicaid rates.
Yeah,
so
dental insurance.
it's one of those the consequences. It seemed like such a good idea to expand these benefits, but there's always consequences that come from them. So we also have House Bill 114, which is relative. It's the age of, where if you're 16 or 17, you can get mental health treatment without your parents' consent. So the bill doesn't allow prescription of medications, so that's good. But we were trying to get it to be just talk therapy. Not trying to head in any one direction, but giving somebody a professional where they could have somebody to discuss what they're experiencing. Unfortunately, the other side really wanted them to head whatever direction they want, as long as they're not prescribing medicine. You know, if this was still just happening in healthcare centers, that might be one thing, but there's that huge push to move mental health care into the schools. And the idea that 16 and 17-year-olds would be not consulting with their parents is really concerning. We do have some people with good mental health backgrounds in our committee. And even though they supported this bill, they know that the best mental health care happens when you have the whole family involved. And they did recognize this bill might hurt those family relationships and end up with lower outcomes. But they're looking at the one child they might save when they get the mental health care. But I'm also concerned, and a lot of other people on the committee are concerned about the unintended consequences for some of these kids getting more separated from their parents instead of working through their problems with their parents. So that's been one of those big challenges. And we have another interesting one too, prohibiting discrimination in medical care. You know, when Obamacare came around, there was all the talk about rationing of care. And then we were told rationing of care wouldn't happen. But now the question is, how do you ration care? And everybody admits that happens. It's actually quite terrifying when you hear people talking about how it's appropriate to deny certain treatments to people because they're too old or other things.
Yeah, I remember that when Obamacare first started.
Yes. So right now we have a law that says that you can't be denied appropriate care on the basis of age, sex, gender identity, sexual orientation, race, color, marital status, familial status, disability, religion, national origin, source of income, source of payment, or profession. However, there's also an issue that you don't want to have your care limited because of any allegations of historic differences. There's a massive push to health equity, and that's not evidence-based medicine. This is trying to tip the scales to correct the ills of the past by denying health care to people that supposedly benefit from that. You know, right now we do have some therapies that are approved only for certain groups. Actually, back when I broke my leg skydiving, I was down at Boston Medical Center, and we were in a waiting room. Most of the people didn't look like me. And there was something on TV talking about this new healthcare drug. And it was talking about discrimination against African Americans in medicine. My husband stood up and said, "No, we now have a drug that is approved only for people of African descent," because people looked at the data and they found that it helped people of African descent, but it didn't help anybody else.
Right.
So sometimes it makes a lot of sense to cut by different groups.
Right.
We have work on biomarkers to try and see if a cancer has certain signals. And then you absolutely say some people get this treatment and other people don't. But you want to make sure that it's for good clinical, evidence-based reasons and not just because somebody doesn't like you.
Yeah, the same way with like drugs for sickle cell anemia.
Exactly.
Mainly under African American.
Yes. And that's one of the things too with the pain relief and the concern about opioids. This is something that the sickle cell usually happens in young black males. And people who don't understand sickle cell don't realize that this young man's coming in because it feels like he has glass in his blood, in his veins. And you need to treat that with opiates. You need to give him serious, hardcore pain drugs so that he can deal with this pain and get worked up and they can figure out what's going on and treat his disease. And it's just crippling pain. And fortunately, we actually do a pretty good job of dealing with that here in New Hampshire, even though it's a really, really small group of people. And when I found that out, it just warmed my heart because I know it's not common here, but we do actually have good care. If anybody knows that I'm wrong, email me and tell me about the problem and we'll fix it.
There you go.
But sometimes it makes sense to use different factors to choose what care you get, but it should be about improving everybody's outcomes, not about limiting other people's outcomes.
Oh, and you mentioned HB 209.
Yes, House Bill 209. So
Unfortunately, that was 20-0 to kill.
it was 20-0, but they don't have the right language in there.
Well,
So
then you got to defeat the ITL to come up with an amendment.
well, we would need to have a floor amendment. So
Right. Yeah, but-
I don't know if anybody watching went to town hall on Monday of this Monday before the storm to fill out the form,
Right.
because state law allows you, if there's a national storm warning,
Yeah, for town
to do that for town elections.
You can't
But
do it
when you
for
do
the
the
federal.
when you do it on the form, it makes you check that either you're elderly and infirm or you're caring for a child or elderly infirm. And that's not what the law says. The law says, I'm worried that I might not be able to get there because of the storm, so I'm voting early. There were people who did not want to sign that form because it's a misdemeanor,
Right.
because it didn't give them a box to check consistent with the
Yeah.
law.
But the problem-
So,
yeah.
but if we do that, we
The-
just need to communicate it with everybody.
The language needs to be changed because one of the reasons it was killed
Yes.
on the committee because it left it open.
Yes.
That anybody, oh, my card's not going to work, so I'm going to need,
So there had been one, and they were changing the form already. So this is a matter of being germane, which means it's dealing with the same section of law. If everybody can agree that we have a solution to the problem we faced on Monday, we might be able to do something about it this week. But if everybody doesn't agree, we won't.
And that's something, on the election, we should have postponed like Derry did and Hudson
No.
did.
We had 20 inches of wet snow, and we did not postpone.
Oh, you didn't? Good.
No.
Oh, so did your husband win?
No, he didn't.
Oh, okay.
But we had 1,091 people come out to vote.
Oh.
We
I know, that's
we
okay.
had 2,600 last time. We
I
had
know.
whole neighborhoods blocked off by fallen trees and
You
down
should've-
wires.
Yeah, you should have.
Yeah.
You shouldn't. That we messed up too. Because Bedford, Hudson,
Yeah.
Mill, all those towns actually delayed, and we should have delayed too.
Yeah, we actually even had a pine tree fall on the luckiest kid ever because they thought they needed advanced life support, but the kid only had minor injuries, which
Oh,
is just
boy.
amazing. Just amazing. But
Yeah.
we had that kind of storm where trees were just coming down willy-nilly.
Yeah, because the problem is it's the moderator's got to do it, and that probably needs to. Anyway,
Probably better guidance and better pre-planning
Except
of what the
moderator was out
decisions
of
are.
town, so the assistant moderator.
Our moderator was appointed, so it was her first election.
Right, I know.
It's a lot of pressure. It definitely is, because it's like the snow days when you cancel school and then there's no snow. So, it's a tough
We
job.
got a big week coming up. Something I wanted to bring up too is myself and Kim Queen, who's a selectman, we're also commissioners on the National Regional Planning Commission, and so we had a meeting Wednesday night. And by the way, those meetings, everybody's by their first name, when they go around. Hey, Ralph, what do you think? Kim, what do you got? What I mean? Which is entirely different. And our titles are all commissioners, what I mean? But the thing in Litchfield that's coming up is going to hopefully get on the 10-year plan, because how that works, the planning commissions recommend what things need to fix, or roads that need to be done and whatnot. That goes to the DOT sends it to the governor, executive council, then it goes to the legislature, and it comes out in the 10-year plan. One of the things we have in Litchfield is on Corning Road and 3A, with the horse farm, or stables, that's gonna be some housing. So it's a small thing to make a left turn on 3A onto Corning Road. And Corning Road is one of the main roads going into Litchfield. It's actually Litchfield Road in Londonderry. I mean, London. So, and that's so I have to watch for that coming into the legislature on when that will happen. So other than that, I think you got anything coming up, Erica? You mentioned.
We just have a whole bunch of these bills coming through. I had a bill on supervisors of the checklist, which you approved in my committee.
Okay.
Just when you get a name that's not on, you just need to make sure that they're actually still in town, and not every town was meeting.
That's one thing we passed was the supervisor of the checklist have to meet
At
every
least
90 days.
Yes.
It was initially 45, and it was changed to 90. And some towns they redo it every month. Fine, you can do it more than that.
I'd put it in as 45 days because I couldn't imagine telling everybody to do it sooner. I'm really happy with 90 days.
90 days is fine. So in other words, every 3 months, your election supervisors have to meet to go through to see. That's when time to people can change their registration or and all that kind of stuff. So it's every 90 days, but they can meet sooner. Somebody in our committee said, well, in Portsmouth, we do it every month. Yeah, it's a big place.
Yeah, Portsmouth, you're doing it great. Don't change.
Right.
Yes.
But, so you don't have to. And one of my friends on the other side, she voted against it. Only 2 people had voted against it because we can't tell everybody what to do, but that's funny because they tell them. But,
we all have our blind spots.
I know.
Yes.
But
yeah.
So that's something good that happened. So we got big week coming. Tuesday, Wednesday and Thursday.
Wednesday and Thursday.
And then looks like maybe in a couple of weeks might have 3 days, and hopefully we don't have a thing that happened 3 years ago when because there's a deadline date when everything's got to be done, and so we went to 4 o'clock in the morning. So from 8 o'clock in the morning to 4 o'clock the next morning.
Yes.
Because the door's locked, you can't leave. Yeah, got to keep it warm. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. And unfortunately, that last day is a holiday. But when that was put in the rules and when everybody voted on it, and nobody noticed it at that time.
Well.
And that was the time to object to it. So it's unfortunate.
Right.
But we've already set the calendar, and we need to do the people's business.
Yeah. So anyway, good day, and see you maybe in a couple of weeks with a lot more bills.
Yes. Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
The preceding program was provided by an independent producer solely responsible for its content. The opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.